And we know that for over the last 12 hours, the news coming from Bimbilla has been about some bloodshed following, well, those disagreements as two people have been confirmed dead in a bloody chieftaincy dispute in Bimbilla in the northern region. And we know the incident occurred just before the close or the beginning of Newsday yesterday. This resulted in a position, as at now, of a 12-hour curfew, with residents hoping for the complete withdrawal of the curfew, well, sometime in the future. We would want to speak to a security expert on this incident, but our expert we have in the studio is Seth Kwame Boateng, somebody who knows the terrain very well, has done a lot more work on the subject of conflict in northern parts of the country and how we can delve into the subject. And Seth, thanks for joining me. What's the latest we have on this subject, if you can just do a recall?
The latest is that the team that got to Bimbilla last night, I mean the security, yes, they have taken over the battlegrounds where the people were shooting from. They needed to do that before 6, before the curfew was lifted this morning, because the shootings continued till midnight. Police had a tough time yesterday trying to get the people to stop. And as you said, 2 people have been confirmed dead. The last time I spoke to the security, 8 people had been injured. And the police told me, the police commander there told me that they are hoping that they will get more casualties this morning, because they learned that a number of people were locked up in their rooms and they were being shot at. So this morning, he believes they're going to get more casualties this morning. I'm here to hear from him about how many more bodies they have retrieved this morning, Roland. But you know, the problem started, the police had intelligence.
They did?
Yeah, that 2 days ago, that the regent wanted to unskin another sub-chief. So DISEC held a meeting and they went to the regent that don't do it, because we have intelligence that if you do, they're going to start fighting. There'll be issues here. So they spoke with the chief over and again. He said, you go ahead and do it. DISEC met him. After that, the regional police commander also called him, stayed on the phone with him for hours, trying to get the man not to go ahead. Again, he ignored. I know that the former Northern Region Minister, Alhaji Munulu Rimuna, also intervened, called the chief that, please, we have intelligence that there will be trouble here. Don't do it. And he again ignored. And that's the problem. So it started around 1:30 p.m., right after the afternoon prayers, when the people here in Skin had not even reached their homes. That was when it started.
Well, so we have to get onto the lines, and through the help of Seth Kwame Boateng and a number of his sources, we are able to speak to some of our colleagues who are working in various news media in the township of Bimbilla and the outskirts. And we have Osman Nuhu from Mantambu Radio. A very good morning to you, Osman.
Good morning.
What's the current situation as we have it? Because we've been getting over the last 12 hours about those disturbances as to what really is happening this morning in Bimbilla.
Yes, as of this morning, the early hours of 6, the town was still very quiet. You could see some few people out, but as of now, people are out on the street. But the situation now is all schools have been closed down. Market women are in their houses. Do not see any. There's no business ongoing currently. Currently, I'm at an area called Kunkuna, and there's no business activities going on. All shops are locked. Schools are closed down. But you can see people on the road. Some are on motorbikes, and some are just on foot, walking about. But you can see a lot of people in groups talking about what happened yesterday. And as of now, we had an unconfirmed death number of 8 women and some few children. And the casualties, we didn't get the actual number. A lot of houses was being burned last night in town. But with the intervention of the Ghana National Fire Service, most of the houses were being, the fighters were able to intervene to put off the fire. So as of now, it's calm. You could see the military, both the military and the police patrols in town.
Okay.
This is the current situation.
We know that we had phrases like battlegrounds, and my colleague Seth Kwame also used the same phrase. If we say, we use phrases like battlegrounds, okay?
Battleground.
Yeah, we had it from the police yesterday, that's on Thursday, and then Seth Kwame Boateng is also using the same form. When we say battleground in the narrations that we tend to do, what does it depict as far as this conflict is concerned, or this current...
There's an area in mostly, this is the area the problem starts. Most of...
Oh, we seem to have lost Osman there. But the thing is, we're told that even though Bimbilla may have been calm, on the outskirts of Bimbilla, we still hear gunshots.
Yes, you know, the people wouldn't hide their weapons in their homes. They hide them in their farms. They have hideouts. So anytime there is a problem, they just run to the bush, their farms, retrieve their arms, and they will start shooting. So you heard him say that schools have been closed down, and I'm so sad about it. Meaning for like the next 2-3 weeks, children will not be going to school.
Really? I thought it would just be for some few days.
No, you know, they get traumatized all the time. So parents are unwilling to get their wards to go to school because you don't know what will happen the next minute. I remember when I went there, the students told me, you be in the classroom learning and you start hearing gunshots and you have to run through the window and go home. How many parents will be willing to get their children go through this? No. And you heard him say that market women are not in town, they are not working this morning. What are the people going to eat?
So you have worked on the subject of conflict in Bimbilla before?
Yes, yes.
What usually tend to ignite the conflict, apart from chieftaincy?
It's mostly chieftaincy, but you know, some will say that some of the conflicts or some of the issues also have political undertone. For now, I'm unable to do the connection. I'm unable to say that because there is a change, that's the reason this is happening. But I remember I predicted in one of our meetings that it's about time we sat down. We sat up to...
You mean the political divide?
Exactly. It's about time we started thinking of what we can do to stop any possible conflict in the northern region. Because usually when there is a change, the people there tend to also, as in my party has come to power, so let me do this. I'm unable to say that is the reason they are fighting now, but usually we get that from them. NDC comes to power,
people
this person would...
who either because of their alliance to either side of the political divide, whether they are off power, in power, try to have a show of force.
Exactly. That we are in charge now. So
how seriously does these type of conflicts, especially when they're happening Bimbilla, and we know it's a long-standing issue, tend to affect the economic livelihood of the people?
Not only that, you know, they are scattered all over. So if we are not careful, because they are fighting Bimbilla, the same tribe in other villages may also fight.
I don't get you.
Okay. The tribe fighting there, we have those same tribes in other parts of the country. So when they start fighting, if we are not careful, others in other towns also start. That's if we are not careful. Also, you heard him say, now it means that people who usually would go to Yendi or Tamale to go transact business, they can't do that today.
I see. So at which point then do we have the security agencies coming? Because now you're telling us they picked up intelligence but couldn't act.
No, they've had issues, so they've always had the presence of military and police. No, there is already curfew. Just that yesterday they renewed the curfew hours, and in fact they intensified the curfew hours. So they've always had the presence of both military and police there, ensuring that the place was peaceful. The problem again has to do with their roads. So Roland, before reinforcement to get to Bimbilla, the worst would have happened. That's the reason the former Northern Region Minister kept appealing to government that it's about time they had a dedicated chopper, so that anytime there's any problem in any of the villages in the Northern region, they can quickly fly there.
I have
There's
access.
security there. Exactly.
Well, the choppers can be shut down.
Yes.
Is that what you're saying? Well, you have Emmanuel Sowate. Emmanuel Sowate is a security expert. And a very good morning to you, Mr. Sowate. It's been a while, but particularly on this very subject of the conflict that already we're being told over the last 12 hours has erupted in Bimbilla. What could have the security agencies done if we know that they had picked up intelligence, which we've now confirmed? Apparently, they picked up some intelligence but couldn't act on it. What could they have done?
Yeah, Roland, this is about 5 questions in one
Okay.
in one package. It's
Please answer my 5 questions for me.
No problem. No problem. The first one, it's been a while. Yeah, it's really been a while. And good morning to your listeners and your guests. I'm not behind the television set, so I don't know that it's a co-presenter or a guest.
Kwame Boateng is a conflict documentary man.
Oh, fantastic. Yes, and then the other thing has to do with, you're talking about logistics.
Yes,
I heard a bit of it that somebody requested for choppers. I don't know whether you refer to the military or the police.
Well, the police foremostly, but entirely for security purposes.
Okay, fantastic. I don't know how much time we have, but you see, one concern I have, which is enduring for the past 15 years or 10 years, is the increasing role of the military in issues that I think that the police ideally should be handling. And I think that we should be looking at that critically as we go forward, because we are bringing in the military too much into internal security, and some of the issues are not so dangerous that the police cannot handle it, at least when it starts. I'm saying that because if we don't do that, we'll still be reinforcing the notion that the police are not too effective and that every little thing we have to fall on the military. The good news is that at least in the past 8 years or so, we used to have this police-military night patrol. They've withdrawn the military and they are leaving the police. Because you see, the military will do mistakes, they will learn. The police will make mistakes, they will learn. And when they are confronted with such issues that straddle from, the early warning analysis, their interventions, where they have to project some level of police strength. And then, of course, at the end of the continuum, if they cannot, then the military comes in. Because you see, if you don't do that, we'll be weakening our police, and then we'll still be reinforcing the old notions we had held under military regime. And that is not good for police-military relations to begin with. And the military would always think they are superior, and that is why sometimes once a while, it might be every 5 years, you hear a military man being rude to a policeman. And I think that we should look at that as part of the broader security sector. How is that linked to Bimbilla? You talked about early warning, and you talked about how early warning might not have been dealt with in this particular case. You see, one thing sometimes we also don't know that the police, the intelligence sometimes nip in the back a lot of these early warnings, but because they don't erupt into the open, the police, the intelligence will not come and tell us that these were the potential threats that were simmering at various levels of intensity and may have erupted, but we are able to kill them. Of course, police working with civil society, and sometimes civil society will do that, and sometimes chiefs do that. Because you see, that trigger or that catalyst that will move from maybe a high tension to open violence is sometimes just one small thing. Somebody will slap somebody and then it will trigger. And then if you don't understand, you say, he just slapped him and they started fighting. It wasn't the slap. Because sometimes, depending on the context, that slap can be symbolic. Because who you slap may come from a particular lineage or it may come from a particular family. And that family has a particular role that they play in traditional governance. And when you touch that person, it is not only that person, it is also symbolic. So if you understand these nuances, when you see an early warning, for example, in certain places, you see people running to go and buy fowls of a particular color. Because sometimes they need those fowls of particular colors to go and start sacrificing to their deities in preparation for an imminent conflict that they have seen. And that conflict can be a combination of weapons. It can be small arms, it can be bladed weapons, it can be arrows, it can be various types of firearms, okay? So some of those indicators, if you are a denizen of an area and you understand their custom and tradition, you might not only say that the fowls are getting shot in the market and so people are going to jubilate. No, you might understand it if you are there for some time. So that's the early warning part. And that is where, when you are doing recruitment sometimes into various intelligence and security institutions. You look at those who have some of these knowledge in combination with others, so that they bring their local analysis to bear in terms of how, although we are in a globalized world, there are also local peculiarities that have to be situated within their local worldview or local philosophy. Okay, so then we come to the police, which is the modern institution, and then police working with the military. You talked about reinforcement. Very often, when you look at some of these issues, not only in Bimbilla, in other places, you realize that it is part of the dominant feature of a litany of problems that the police would have, one of it being logistics. Because I'm very sure that the DSP in charge of Bimbilla, they have said that he needed 1, 2, 3, and I'm very sure his divisional commander and the regional commanders would have said that they need certain things. But when it comes to the headquarters, when I say headquarters police, headquarters National Security Council under the
Well, we seem to have lost him on the line there, and we'll get Emmanuel Sowate back on the line. But Seth, and I see that you agree with many of the things that
for example, how to even select your men to go to some of these areas is another problem.
Really?
Yes.
Does it matter?
Yes, it matters. You have to do proper selection so that if the tribes fighting are Konkoba and Dagombas, you would then select Konkoba, Dagoba security men to go there and stop the fight.
Because they could have some...
Exactly. So you have to do proper selection. So when it happens like this, probably they are fighting in the north, so you should not send men from that lineage there. You probably have to get people from maybe the southern part of Ghana, you understand, to go there. So it's another issue for them. And the issue of the chopper I was talking to you about, that was an appeal the former Northern Region Minister made to the president that we need a dedicated chopper here because, their roads are bad. So they are fighting. When can we get there? That is another issue. They have to get there on time. But the road alone will let them delay for hours before they get there.
You have had academic training in, is it peace building and conflict resolution, etc., because that's what your expertise on. So at the end of the day, if, let's say, what's Mr. Emmanuel Sowate, have you joined us?
Yes, I'm back online.
Okay. So you are on a point about the police and their logistical needs post the conflict situation before the next one erupts.
Okay, so I'm saying that those things are known. They've been there since the Ryan report, the Biri report, and all the other reports. Some of the things, the Biri was more, I think, on recruitment. But if you look up to Acha, you realize some of these things are there. And in fact, if you read the police service instructions and even their CI 76, you realize that they, quite an elaborate governance or regime structure, that if we all support them to adhere to in terms of the internal working fence, the support they need, they will be quite effective. But you see, the police will have a role to play. But when it comes to finding enduring peace, lasting peace, that's when the police is not the prime actor. It is true that there are relationship between police action and inaction, how the factions perceive police, how the factions perceive the state itself, whether the state is for them or against them. That affects sometimes how they mediate. But it is true that when we are talking about lasting peace, what the police and the curfews are usually episodic solutions. They are the short term. What do you do to curb further death and violence? That is what the police and the military do. But when it comes to finding the lasting peace, you need other facilitating conditions and other actors who are trusted. Because at the minimum, you need those who intervene, and those people would need some level of integrity. And inherent in that integrity are many variables. And two of those key variables that for me culminates into integrity is trust and confidence that are usually built over time and through actions that are done on time. And so the Bimbilla case going forward, if we are not careful, it will happen again. The military will go there, and then the same thing, they'll be allowing the fighting, and then something more will trigger it, and then it will start again. But normally you want to, when there are transitions like this in government, political government, you also want to see whether there is a pattern in terms of how politics also influences these things. And having worked with, I was in charge of prefect at the Peace Council for some time.
Yes, you
and
were.
I went to the UN. Having seen this thing across conflict zone and...
Oh, we seem to have lost him. And you were raising the point.
Exactly, I made that point. And he spoke of interveners, people who must intervene. And I can say
and then of what caliber they should be.
Exactly. I can say that when I did that documentary, the Bullets or the Skin documentary, after that, the Catholic Church, the Catholic Diocese in the Northern Region, had a meeting with both factions. and they met for the first time. They sat under the same roof, they spoke, and they drew a plan as to how to completely stop the violence in Bimbilla. So I'm shocked as to why this is happening again. Yeah, because there were interveners, people came in, the clergy, understand, from the Roman Catholic Church. They intervened and they brought them together. And I remember one of the meetings, I was present, they showed them video of
the effect.
The effect of this country where people were amputated, and I forgot.
We have Sierra Leone.
Sierra Leone.
We have even Liberia.
Is it Rwanda?
We have Rwanda.
Yeah, exactly. They showed them video.
Rwanda is not amputation, they kill you.
They kill you. They showed all these videos to them and they were shocked. They made them aware that if we are not careful, we may get to this point. So you have to be very careful.
Well, Mr. Sowate, we have to wrap up on you. Apparently, technology has not been your friend this morning. So just say one or two other words and then we can come to the story.
Yeah. I think that if you have questions, let me speak. But
okay, so I interviewed you a couple of times some years ago on a program on a TV station called Global Africa, and especially you raised an issue about the conflicts in Liberia and Sierra Leone and the post-conflict mechanisms that are used. And you said sometimes people's cognitive and emotional okay. I've lost him. But at the end of the day, it's about resolving a conflict that is likely to have its variables always have indicators always there. How do you, let's say, quell a raging volcano?
You know, I think it's about time we made them aware of what they are losing to the conflict. That's what we should be telling them. What they are losing, the cost. Not the cost, the cost.
What if they don't see what they are losing?
They are feeling it. They know what they are losing. But it's about time we sat with them and made them aware that because you're fighting is the reason you don't have good roads. Because I remember the peacekeepers who were there, the last time I checked, or the last violence that happened there, the district security councils had spent almost 100,000 cedis on them, feeding them, getting them fuel to patrol Bimbilla. So all these monies could have been used to work on their schools, on their roads, could have been used to work on their hospitals. As I speak, they don't have even as, I would say, simple X-ray machine. They don't even have one at their hospital. So when somebody is sick and needs an X-ray, the person will have to go to Yendi or Tamale. If they have been made aware of these things, I believe they would have stopped. Seriously. If you see their schools and the monies we are spending on security. Peacekeepers.
Because you need to cater for the peacekeepers.
Exactly.
You need to buy armory and
fuel and all those things for them. I went to a school which they attempted building, and that school had been abandoned when I went there, all because they don't have money. The monies they could have used to continue the construction, they are using that on peacekeepers.
The chieftaincy institutions and the schemes that they keep fighting for, what are the, do we have gold concessions in the area?
It's about supremacy. No, okay. Not really. And the respect that comes, and the respect that comes with it. They are highly respected.
I see.
Yeah, that's why they don't joke with that.
Okay. So we'll see how we can do that. We hope that your sources can also give us a number of leads on this. And we thank you very much. You gave us the man from Montambo Radio. And Nuhu was also available to us, as well as Emmanuel Sowate. He's a security expert known around Ghana as well, has trained under many people of Land Military Danso and the rest of them, as well as a number of them at the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Training Center. So we thank you very much for coming about, and we hope that throughout the rest of the programming on the day, you will be in a position to help us do the discussions throughout. And it's good that you also receive training in peace building and
that has really helped.
Yes, it's really helped you too at the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping. I hope that's where you did it. Or
Kofi Annan.
Yeah, Kofi Annan. Thank you very much.